I think what I love the most is I've always said this. I think that KL and Malaysia has probably the best, most passionate fans in Asia. I mean, it's I've done some shows here where you forget that you're in Asia because the crowd is so good. It reminds me of like South America or even in some of the big cities in the U.S. So I always enjoy coming here for that reason. Wow. From here I go to Europe and we start the Ibiza season. So it came really fast. I mean, it feels like only yesterday was New Year's Eve, and now here we are already heading to Europe for Ibiza. So that's the next big plan. It was just a project that we started just for fun, and it's kind of blown up. We were on an airplane one time flying to Ibiza, and we were just talking about how we've never worked in the studio together. We should do it. And then we did a gig together, and from there it just kind of, it grew, And it's a lot of fun because, Ferry and I, when we're up on stage together, we just like, we just get a little crazy, and even just the whole traveling around together is a lot of fun, and I think that's what the whole project is just about, not being too serious, and just having fun.
What are your predictions for the top 5?
Well, it's weird right now because it seems like it's a pop list, and it's fine. It is what it is, but I always talk about how, if you look at bands like Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin, those are the bands that are like withstood the test of time. Those are the legends, and I think that, it's more important to be a legend than to be number one. And I think that a lot of artists have kind of lost track of that or don't think like that. And a lot of artists are trying to be number one. And then 5 years from now, they'll be gone. But the real artists, they're the ones who are trying to be legend, and trying to push the art form. And I'm afraid that this year, the focus will probably be more on marketing and hype and all that, and not really on the art. So when the voting starts, I just hope that everybody keeps in mind the art form behind it and kind of votes for the artist and not necessarily for the hype and the marketing. Well, I mean, I had a real hard childhood growing up. I came from a broken family, and my stepfather was in the U.S. Army for 25 years, so he was like real disciplinarian. We didn't get along. I traveled around. Every 3 years I moved to a new city, so I never got to make friends. And I just spent a lot of time in my room just listening to music. And then when I turned 18, I moved out on my own, and it was very difficult. When I first started, I was actually living in the back of my car. So those were real dark times. But now I look back at everything, and I understand that I had to go through that. And I appreciate my stepfather for being such a disciplinarian, because I think that the discipline and the art has gotten me where I'm at now. I think that you need that to last in this industry. Like I said, there's a lot of people who, after 2-3 years, burn out because they lack the discipline. Because it's a brutal life. I spend over 200 days a year in a hotel. Flying 4 or 5 times a week, and it gets heavy. But it takes a lot of discipline. Oh, you know what? It's been embraced by the fans, and like, it's great because like everybody sends me messages saying like, this song, I've grown to love it, and it's like there's obvious tracks on there that people liked at the very beginning, but now it's like I'm feeling that second wave where fans are like, I overlooked this song and I love it. And then it's really exciting, because I think that's what being an artist is all about. Not always making the obvious stuff, but making stuff that, kind of people start to discover later on. I'm inspired by Pink Floyd and artists like that. And you know, our albums like Dark Side of the Moon, every time you listen to it, you hear something new in it. And I try to make my albums the same way, let people discover new things each time they listen. I was really unfortunate, and that's, you know, one of the things that I keep talking about is, you know, the art of the scene. And I want people to understand, and I think not just the clubbers, but also the government and everything, that there's an art to this, an art form. And, you know, it's unfortunate when situations like that take away from the art, because it's a beautiful scene, the music is beautiful, it's very passionate people, and when unfortunate incidents like that happen, it like puts a black eye on the scene, and you know, and somehow we got to kind of put the focus on the beauty of the scene, the art, the music, because that's what it's all about, you know. It's about the music and not about you know, the drugs, you know, and I don't know. I think it just takes everybody just kind of like standing up and saying, hold on, you know, it's about the music, you know, and yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know, I felt, I was really saddened by it, and shocked as well, you know, because I thought that everybody that was part of the tour were artistic and really into the music and trying to put on a great show for the fans. And I know a lot of people were really hurt that you know, they weren't able to express their art to the fans. Craziest request, well, you know, I mean, you get all, you can imagine everything, but I mean, I think when people ask me to like sign their girlfriends or their wives, you know, breasts or ass or something, that's always crazy. It always makes me a little bit blush. But most memorable one, gosh, yeah, probably when you know, somebody came up to me and said, "This is my wife. You know, can you take her home, or take her back to your hotel?" You know, stuff like that. I play a lot of sports, so I love basketball. I love baseball and football, and I love riding my bike. So that's what when I'm not traveling or in the studio, I like to just unwind by being involved with sports. Lately, I've been really inspired by like old school R&B and soul from the era of like 1980 to 1985. Like from that era, I've been listening to a lot lately. You know, stuff like Shalimar and Change and bands like that. And I've just started really getting into it, I'd say, in the last year. I mean, I've always liked it, but in the last year, I've just been like really, you know, listening to it a lot. I haven't touched, you know, vinyl in a long time. I miss it, but at the same time, you know, the things that I do nowadays, I could never do with vinyl. You know, like make a track on the airplane and then play it that night in a club, you know? So I still have all my vinyl and I still have all my turntables, but I haven't plugged them in a long time. I have to get new needles for them in order to plug them in. I don't know, I don't know where to find them. Thank you, guys. Okay.
To never come down, let's step inside, break down.